Dear students, this is your chapter number 3, the Delhi Sultanate. The period between 1206 to 1526. The period between 1206 AD and 1526 in India's history is known as the Delhi Sultanate period. During this period, over 300 years, total 5 dynasties, they ruled in Delhi. How many dynasties ruled in Delhi? 5 dynasties. So what we are going to cover in this chapter, we will be covering about these 5 dynasties in India who ruled in Delhi. So let us start with the background of our chapter. We studied in our chapter number 2 about Mahmud of Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori. If you remember, Mahmud of Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori. Mahmud of Ghazni was the ruler of Ghazni. He was very ambitious and he wanted to make Ghazni a very powerful kingdom. And for that he needed money. He needed army. He did not have enough money to maintain the army even. So what he did, he was very fascinated by India's wealth. So he invaded India approximately 17 times. This is very important. For how many times he invaded India? For 17 times he invaded India. He attacked many places in India. Now when we talk about Muhammad Ghori was also very ambitious like Muhammad Ghazni. He was also very ambitious like Muhammad Ghazni. He too wanted to expand his empire. But his motive was not only to plunder money, but to set up an empire in India. What was Muhammad Ghori's motive? Muhammad Ghori's motive was not only to plunder money, but to set up an empire in India. So because of this, he invaded India in 1175. Then he conquered Multan in many regions. Then 1190 he conquered Punjab. Then he had battle with Prithviraj Chauhan. In first battle in 1191, he was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan. But soon after 1 year, in 1192, this is important, in 1192, Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan was a Rajput ruler. Students, you should know that it was Rajputs, it was Indians only who established their kingdom in India first. It was none other than Indians. They were the Rajputs who established their kingdom in India, in Delhi. So after defeating Prithviraj Chauhan, Muhammad Ghori, he established Muslim rule in India. Okay, let us move to next slide. Now, 5 dynasties. As I told you in the starting that we will be studying about 5 dynasties. Early Turkish, Khalji Dynasty, Tughlaq, Sayyidi and Lodi Dynasty. In this video, today we will be covering these 2 dynasties, Early Turkish and Khalji Dynasty. Students, now this is also important. Sources. What are the sources? Most of the valuable information is provided by histories or Tawrikh written in the Persian languages. So what do you mean by Tawrikh? You must be thinking, what is Tawrikh? Tawrikhs are the histories written during Delhi Sultanate period. The histories written during Delhi Sultanate period, that writing is called Tawrikh, and it was written in Persian language. How did we come to know about these 5 dynasties? From these Tawrikhs, which were written in Persian language. So let us start with our first dynasty, the slave dynasty. See the image of Qutbuddin Aibak. He is Qutbuddin Aibak. This is the mosque he built, and this is Qutub Minar. First dynasty, the slave dynasty. To this we call as Turkish rulers also. So sometime it is also considered as Mamluk dynasty, means slave gulam. Now, Qutbuddin Aibak. Who was Qutbuddin Aibak? Qutbuddin Aibak was the first sultan of slave dynasty. He was the first sultan of slave dynasty. He was one of the general of Muhammad Ghori. Students, as I told you, in 1192, Muhammad Ghori, he established his kingdom in Delhi. So Muhammad Ghori, after his death, Muhammad Ghori did not have son. So after his death, he made Qutbuddin Aibak, who was his slave earlier, he made him his successor. So this is the reason. So this dynasty is known as slave dynasty. He made Qutbuddin Aibak free from his slave, and he made him his successor. Qutbuddin Aibak was one of the general of Muhammad Ghori. And after Muhammad Ghori's death, Qutbuddin Aibak, he began to rule as independent ruler. It is heard that, according to the histories, that Qutbuddin Aibak was very kind-hearted man. So this was the reason that he was called as Lakh Baksh also, means donor of lakhs. He was called as Lakh Baksh. So who was called as Lakh Baksh? Qutbuddin Aibak. Now what he built? He built Quat-ul-Islam Mosque, and he started the construction of Qutub Minar. Student, here it is important to know that it was not Qutbuddin Aibak who completed this construction. Construction of Qutub Minar was started by Qutbuddin Aibak, but it was completed by his son-in-law, Damad, Iltutmish. Okay, Iltutmish. Now Qutbuddin Aibak was succeeded by Iltutmish. Who was Iltutmish? Iltutmish was also slave of Qutbuddin Aibak, but he was very capable. So seeing his capabilities, Qutbuddin Aibak, he made him his next successor. He was also his son-in-law. Now Iltutmish, he fought against the Turkish nobles. It is wrong spelling. It is nobles. Nobles, nobles, and Rajput rulers in the north. He defeated the ruler of Ujjain, Ranthambore, and consolidated his position in northwest. He annexed Bihar, Bengal to his empire. For this, see this map. This is your map of India, and see Iltutmish, he defeated the rulers of Ujjain, then of Ranthambore. So in this way, this is north, this is west. So in this way, he consolidated his position in northwest. Then he annexed Bihar and then Bengal. I hope this is clear that first he defeated the rulers of Ujjain and Ranthambore, and he became strong in northwest, and then he annexed Bihar and Bengal. Okay, see, come back. Iltutmish defeated Muhammad Ghori's general Kubacha. And then he had many sons. It is said that Iltutmish had many sons, but he did not consider them that any one of them is capable, and he decided to give his crown to his daughter Rajya Sultan. This is important, students, that Iltutmish in 1236, Iltutmish's daughter Rajya Sultan, he became the Sultan. Let me write it for you. In 1236, who became the Sultan of Delhi? Rajya Sultan. Because Iltutmish, he had many sons, but he did not consider them that they are capable and they can handle my kingdom. So he decided to give the crown to his daughter Rajya Sultan. Rajya Sultan, she was more capable, she was more able and qualified than all her brothers. but he was not comfortable at all. But there were many other nobles who were not comfortable at all to accept them as their queen, as a ruler. Not even the brothers nor the nobles, none of them was comfortable at having that a queen or a girl or a lady or a female queen will rule as a ruler. But she ruled independently. Rajya Sultan. So as I told you, who was Rajya Sultan? She was daughter of Iltutmish and the only Sultan of Delhi. She usually wore a male attire and rode an elephant. Attire, a dress. And she rode an elephant and horse. She succeeded in establishing law and order in her empire. She was succeeded, and her region was full of problems as she faced many rebellions from the nobles of her dynasty. As I told you earlier, that her brothers and nobles, none of them were happy at all that she is ruling independently. So because of this, she faced many rebellions, she faced many problems. She succeeded in establishing law and order in her empire. The nobles, they conspired against her and killed her in a battle. It is said that Rajya Sultan nobles, it is said that nobles, they told her to surrender. But Rajya Sultan, she said, I did rather to die in a battlefield than to surrender myself. So she did the same. Rajya Sultan, she was removed from the throne in 1240. The nobles, they were against her and they killed her in a battle. And Rajya lies buried in a grave in Turkman Gate as a great woman warrior of her times. Students, Minhaj Siraj. You must remember in our chapter 1 we studied about Minhaj Siraj. Who was Minhaj Siraj? He was a historian. He was a historian. Now what he commented on Rajya Sultan. Minhaj Siraj, he thought that the Queen Razia's rule went against the social order created by God, in which women were supposed to be inferior to men. He therefore asked that in the register of God's creation, since her account did not fall under the column of men, how did she gain from all of her excellent qualities? What does it mean? Actually, Minhaj Siraj, he said that the queen's rule went against the ideal social order created by the God. What social order? That men are always superior and women are always inferior. Superior and inferior. According to him, it is God's creation that women, they were supposed to be the subordinate to men. And how a woman can be a ruler? He said these words when Rajya Sultan, daughter of Iltutmish, she was made the queen of Delhi Sultanate. Though he thought that the queen was most eligible, all those at that time, but still he was not comfortable with the idea of being queen made of ruler of Delhi. I hope you understood that here Minhaj Siraj, according to him, that how according God has created this, that men are always superior and women are inferior to men, then how a woman can rule? Though he thought that yes, this queen Rajya Sultan was the most eligible of all those at that time. Then there one more, Queen Rudma Devi. She was a queen of Varangal and she changed her name on her inscriptions and she pretended always to be a man. Queen Dida of Kashmir. And what is the actual meaning of Dida? It is derived from a elder sister, Didi. I hope this is clear. Student, this is your second dynasty, Khalji Dynasty. So Khaljis, they ruled from 1290 to 1320. This you should remember. Who was the first leader of Khalji dynasty? Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji. Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji, he was the first leader. He is said to be the first leader of Khalji dynasty, but he was not very strong leader. He was succeeded by Alauddin Khalji, where Alauddin Khalji was very strong leader. He was very ambitious leader. He wanted to conquer the whole of the India. He wanted to conquer whole India. So to achieve his aim, he quickly won over the nobles and the soldiers. How? By distributing them golds from the treasury. He started imposing many restrictions on the nobles, where some nobles, they were not ready to where some nobles were not allowed to meet, and they were not ready to take all the festivities whatever he was offering them. And what they did, they did festivities without his permissions. Whereas Alauddin Khalji, he had many spies everywhere, so who gave them information every moment. Now Alauddin Khalji's expansion, which is important, and you have a map also, so you need to do it very carefully. Alauddin Khalji wanted to expand his empire. The first step was in the direction was the conquest of Gujarat. First in Gujarat and Malwa. Then he tried to establish the control over Rajasthan. For that, he captured Chittor and Ranthambore. These two, Chittor and Ranthambore. Student, did you know that after capturing Chittorgarh, it is said that Rani Padmavati of Chittor, Rani Padmavati, she was a queen over there in Chittor. Rani Padmavati, with all other Rajput women of the kingdom, she committed Johar. What is a Johar now? Johar is a kind of Hindu tradition where Rajput women who did not wanted to fall in enemy's hand, instead of falling into enemy's hand, they burn themselves in the flame. So what the same Rani Padmavati did with all other women of the kingdom, she burnt herself. And when Alauddin Khalji, he come to know about this incident, that how they all burnt themselves, he gave order that to slaughter all the enemies, to kill each and everyone in Chittor. And Amir Khusro, a court poet, Amir Khusro, he quoted in his writings that day approximately 30,000 Rajputs, they were killed on that single day. Approximately 30,000 Rajputs were killed on that single day. When Alauddin Khalji, when he come to know about that Johar of Rani Padmavati and with other Rajput women. Okay, so next is as a brilliant general, Alauddin Khalji, he conquered many territories. Then he launched a campaign. Under whom? Malik Khusro. Under Malik Khusro, he launched a campaign. First, he ruled in Delhi. He started with Delhi Sultan. He crossed the Vindhya range. First, he crossed the Vindhya range. Here he defeated Yadavs. Then he defeated Kakiyatas. And then captured Warangal. And it is one more thing is said that after defeating Yadavas and them, it is said that Alauddin Khilji, he did not bring all these territories, he did not bring under his control. Instead, he made all these rulers to accept him as they have to pay the huge amount as a tribute. Actually, Alauddin Khilji, he allowed these states that they can have their internal autonomy, but they had to pay a huge amount as a tributary to Alauddin Khilji. I hope you understand the meaning, that why he did not took them under his control, why he did not take it under his control. Instead, taking under his control, what he did, he allowed them to have their internal autonomy, but they had to pay a huge amount as a tribute. Now, after Alauddin Khilji's death in 1316, let me write it for you, in 1316, After Alauddin Khalji's death in 1316, a war of succession broke out, and the last Khalji ruler, who was the last Khalji ruler? Malik Khusro. He was replaced by next dynasty, Tughlaq Sultans. So with the Malik Khusro, our next dynasty will start, Tughlaq Sultans. But before that, we will be doing about some small economic measures of in Alauddin Khalji's period. These are the economic measures. Alauddin Khalji wanted to conquer the Deccan and Rajasthan. For this, he needed a strong army, and to maintain the army, he needed large revenue. It is quite common that if he wanted to maintain an army, the same way Ghazni, they need a money. So what he did to gain money, what he did to get the money? To increase the revenue collection, what he did, he fixed the prices of food grains, fruits, vegetable, clothes, and other products. Black marketing, which was led to the low price of the goods, means there was medium. To increase the revenue collection, he controlled the prices of all the commodities. Then what he did, he made arrangement for the government to buy all the excess, all the non-perishable commodities. Then a strict watch was kept on buying and selling of the commodity. To stop this black marketing, what he did, to stop this black marketing, a strict watch was kept on buying and selling. He appointed people to keep an eye on the people in the market. Now, anyone who is found cheating, he was punished. Next is the three types of taxes. There were three types of taxes started by Alauddin Khalji, and these taxes were what was these taxes? 50% of the peasant produce, whatever the farmers will produce, 50% Alauddin Khalji will take. And then there was taxes on cattle, there was taxes on the houses even. So these were the taxes. The revenue reform made more money available to the king. So with the help of the money, Alauddin, he was able to keep a permanent standing army. He imported horses and paid his soldier in cash. I hope this is clear. The economic measures that to increase his income, because he wanted to maintain an army. Why? Because he wanted to conquer Deccan and Rajasthan. He need an army. So to increase army, he need a money. So what he did for money, he need to increase his revenue. How he did? By increasing the taxes. Taxes on produces, taxes on cattle, taxes on houses. Not only this, he started keeping an eye in the market that how people are buying and how they are selling, so that there should not be any cheating. He increased the revenue collection. He controlled the prices of all the products, food grains, cattle, slaves, everything was controlled by Alauddin Khalji. So this was the end of this video. So here are some recapitulation. Tariq was written in which language? Dash was Sultan. Which Sultan was referred as Lakh Baksh? Who was the founder of slave dynasty? Qutub Minar was constructed by whom and it was completed by whom? What is a masjid? Which three types of tax were started by Alauddin Khalji? Write all the name of the Delhi Sultanate, all the name of the dynasties in a proper sequence, in a proper hierarchy. Students, to either to write in comment box or to WhatsApp me these answers.